to Section 2, Application of Fire. This section covers 4 chapters: types of targets, distribution, concentration, and rate of fire, target engagement, and target engagement during limited visibility. Let's begin. Chapter 1, Types of Targets. A. Point targets. These require the use of a single aiming point. Examples of point targets are enemy soldiers, bunkers, weapons emplacements, and lightly armored vehicles. Fixed fire is delivered at point targets. B. Area targets. These may have considerable width and depth and may require extensive traversing and searching fire. These include targets in which the exact location of the enemy is unknown. The following are varieties of area targets likely to be engaged. B1. Linear targets have sufficient width to require successive aiming points. The beaten zone effectively covers the depth of the target area. Traversing fire is delivered at linear targets. B2. Deep targets require successive aiming points. Searching fire is delivered at deep targets. B3. Linear targets with depth have sufficient width requiring successive aiming points in which the beaten zone does not cover the depth of the target area. A combined change in direction and elevation is necessary to effectively cover the target with fire. Traversing and searching fire is delivered at linear targets with depth. Chapter 2, Distribution, Concentration, and Rate of Fire. A. Distributed fire is delivered in width and depth, such as at an enemy formation. B. Concentrated fire is delivered at a point target, such as an automatic weapon or an enemy fighting position. C. The rates of fire that can be used with the M249 machine gun are sustained, rapid, and cyclic. These rates of fire enable leaders to control and sustain fire and prevent the destruction of barrels. More than anything else, the size of the target and ammunition supply dictate the selection of the rate of fire. C1. Sustained fire for the M249 automatic rifleman is 85 rounds per minute in rounds of 3 bursts. This allows the automatic rifle to be fired indefinitely without damage to the barrel from overheating. This is the normal rate of fire for the automatic rifleman. C2. Rapid fire for the M249 automatic rifleman is 200 rounds per minute in bursts of 3 rounds. This provides for an exceptionally high volume of fire, but only for a short period. C3. Cyclic fire uses the ammunition that can be used in 1 minute. The cyclic rate of fire with the M249 machine gun is achieved when the trigger is held to the rear and ammunition is fed into the weapon uninterrupted for 1 minute. Normal cyclic rate of fire is 850 rounds. Chapter 3, Target Engagement. A. Single automatic rifleman. A1. Point target. When engaging a point target, the automatic rifleman uses fixed fire. If the target moves after the initial burst, the automatic rifleman will adjust fire onto the target by following its movement. A2. Area target. When engaging an area target, an automatic rifleman fires in the center of mass, then traverses and searches to either flank. Upon reaching the flank, he reverses direction and traverses the search in the opposite direction. A leader may indicate the width and depth of the target. A3. Linear target. When engaging a linear target, the automatic rifleman traverses the weapon to distribute fire evenly onto the target. He must cover the entire width of a linear target. The initial point of aim is on the midpoint. The automatic rifleman then manipulates to cover the rest of the target. If a linear target is hard to identify, a leader may designate the target by using a reference point. When this method is used, the leader determines the center of mass of the target and announces the number of meters from the reference point that will cause the automatic rifleman to aim on the center of mass. The reference point may be within or adjacent to the target. However, it should be on line with the target for best effect. After the command to fire has been given, the leader maintains and controls the fire by subsequent fire commands. A4. Deep target. When engaging a deep target, the automatic rifleman uses searching fire. If the range is announced, he initially aims on the midpoint of a deep target, unless another portion of the target is more critical or presents a greater threat. The automatic rifleman then searches down to one aiming point in front of the near end and back up to one aiming point beyond the far end. If a deep target is hard to identify, its center of mass may be designated by using reference point. The extent of the target is always given in meters. A5. Linear target with depth. When engaging a linear target with depth, the automatic rifleman uses traversing and searching fire. He begins engagement at the midpoint of the target, unless another portion of the target is more critical or presents a greater threat. He traverses and searches to the near flank, then back to the far flank. When engaging hard to identify linear targets with depth, he designates the flanks and midpoint with rifle fire. The reference point method is not used because at least 2 reference points are required to show the angle of the target. B. Pair of automatic riflemen. B1. Area targets. When using pairs of M249s to engage area targets, the automatic rifleman on the right fires on the right half, and the automatic rifleman on the left fires on the left half. The point of initial aim and adjustment for both automatic riflemen is on the midpoint. After adjusting fire on the center of mass, both automatic riflemen distribute fire by applying direction and elevation changes that give the most effective coverage of the target area. The right automatic rifleman traverses to the right, applies the necessary amount of search, and fires a burst. He traverses and searches up and down until the right flank of the area target has been reached. The left automatic rifleman traverses and searches to the left flank in the same way. Both automatic riflemen then reverse the direction of manipulation and return to the center of mass, firing a burst after each combined direction and elevation change. B2. Linear target. When using a pair of M249s to engage a linear target, the target is divided at midpoint, with the automatic rifleman on the right of the target firing on the right half, and the automatic rifleman on the left of the target firing on the left half. B3. Deep targets. When using a pair of M249s to engage a deep target, the initial point of aim is also on the midpoint for both automatic riflemen. Normally, the automatic rifleman on the right has the near half, and the automatic rifleman on the left has the far half. Since enfilade fire is being used, they do not adjust on the midpoint of the target because the long beaten zone compensates for any range errors. After the initial burst, The automatic rifleman on the right searches down to one aiming point in front of the near end of the target, and the automatic rifleman on the left searches up to one aiming point beyond the far end. Both automatic riflemen then reverse their direction of search and return to the midpoint. B4. Linear target with depth. When using a pair of M249s to engage a linear target with depth, the initial point of aim and the extent of manipulation for both automatic riflemen is the same as those described for linear targets. Chapter 4. Target engagement during limited visibility. A. Automatic riflemen should engage targets only when they can identify targets, unless ordered to do otherwise. For example, if one automatic rifleman detects a target and engages it, the other automatic rifleman observes the area fired upon and adds his fire only if he can identify a target, or if ordered to fire. B. Tracer fire helps an automatic rifleman engage targets during limited visibility and should be used, if possible. If firing unaided, automatic riflemen must be trained to fire low at first and adjust upward. This overcomes the tendency to fire high. C. When two or more automatic riflemen are engaging linear targets with depth, or deep targets, they do not engage these targets as they would when visibility is good. With limited visibility, the center and flanks of these targets may not be clearly defined. Therefore, each automatic rifleman observes his tracers and covers what he believes to be the target area.